Good morning, and welcome to the online community church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalist. I am Larry Ross, a member of the Worship Associates Ministry of our church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you've arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. If you are a guest or newcomer, you are welcome to this online service. Our virtual coffee hour today at 11:30 will be hosted by Rachel Rose and the welcoming team. You can find the Zoom link in the weekly announcements and this Sunday's morning email. The order of service is posted on the church website. Our speaker today is the Reverend Lisa Garcia-Sampson. Reverend Lisa serves as the Executive Director of Forward Together, the Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry of North Carolina. She also serves as the Community Church Affiliated Community Minister. Come, let us worship together. The call to worship this morning is a poem by Amanda Gorman, who is the National Youth Poet Laureate, the youngest in U.S. history. The poem is entitled, A New Day's Lyric, Part 1. May this be the day we come together. Mourning we come to mend, withered we come to weather, torn we come to tend, battered we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. The hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach towards what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. Those moments we missed, and now these moments we make, the moments we meet, and our hearts, once all together beaten, now all together beat. The words for the chalice lighting. We light our chalice to mark the gathering of this beloved community. May we open ourselves up to hear the call of our heart in this sacred hour. The opening hymn is Oh, I Woke Up This Morning.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
The reading this morning is The Legend of the Two Wolves. It is said that a wise Cherokee elder was once teaching his young grandson about life. "There is a war going on inside of me," said the elder. "It is a war between the two wolves. One wolf is evil. He is anger, envy and jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. But the other wolf is good. He is joy and peace, love, hope, serenity, humility and kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." Then the elder placed a hand on his grandson's shoulder. "This same war is raging within you and within the heart of every person." The young man was thoughtful for a moment and then asked, "Which wolf will win?" The grandfather's reply was simple: "The one you feed." I have learned that the point of life's journey is not where or how far I move my feet, but how I am moved in my heart. If I walk far but am angry towards others as I journey, I walk nowhere. If I conquer mountains but hold grudges against others while I climb, I conquer nothing. If I see much but regard others as enemies, I see no one. We travel only as far and as high as our hearts will take us. Which wolf will win? The one you feed.
Please sing along with me. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Lift up your eyes.
Lift up your eyes.
Don't you despair.
Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
Look up ahead.
The path is clear.
The path is clear. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
I know you're scared.
I know you're scared.
And I'm scared too.
And I'm scared too.
But here I am.
But here I am.
Right next to you.
Right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Oh, you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Oh, you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love.
Good morning. Well, it's wonderful to be back with you all today, and for those of you who don't know me, I proudly serve as the affiliated community minister for this congregation. So in my job leading our UU Justice Ministry of North Carolina, I get to work with all the UU churches in the state, but for me, this congregation is home. In the past couple of years, I've had the pleasure of working more closely with our Immigrant Justice Initiative and our Side with Love team. But due to the fact that our UU Justice NC is growing, I'm not able to be as involved as I once was, but I'm always grateful for any time I get to be back with this community. And I do also want to say how deeply grateful I am for all of your continued generosity and support of UU Justice NC. Well, every year when MLK Day is upon us, it provides us with an opportunity to take stock of the movement for justice alive in our country today, one that is very much Dr. King's legacy. Our movement has gone through a lot over the past few years and is undeniably in a precarious moment, one of equally great challenge and opportunity, where the stakes just keep getting higher and higher. An exhaustive list would take all morning, but here are just a few of the challenges that we face in this new year. The desperate need for voter rights legislation at a federal level, and right now with this week's move to reform the filibuster, this is the moment, this is our best chance to pass the now combined Freedom to Vote John Lewis Act. And of course, in this year's midterm elections, we will also be a part of another massive statewide voter engagement movement, so stay tuned for that. Build Back Better is a once-in-a-generation bill that would have a transformative effect for our families in regards to housing, childcare, as well as climate justice and Medicaid expansion, which we must achieve whether it be at a state or federal level for the over 600,000 North Carolinians who are still within that coverage gap. We must hold Duke Energy accountable to transitioning from their massive coal fleet to a renewable energy infrastructure for our state. And finally, we must be prepared for the very real possibility that Roe v. Wade will be overturned this year. And as we know, all of these disproportionately affect people of color. All of them. So what would Dr. King say if he were in a pulpit this Sunday morning? Well, I believe he would remind us of the fundamental truth that we are, quote, all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. And in that web of mutuality, my liberation is tied to yours. I believe he'd call on us to renew our faith in the transformative power of love, what he called not, quote, some sentimental or weak response, but the force which all of the great religions have seen as the supreme unifying principle, the key that unlocks the door. And that in order for us to embody and harness that love, we must do the deep inner work required to cultivate that spiritual strength to love. In other words, the social transformation that we seek in our world requires a spiritual transformation within each of us. And so as we prepare for the year ahead in which we will work for social transformation this morning, we look to a spiritual leader who I believe can offer us wisdom into how to cultivate that strength to love at the heart of Dr. King's legacy. American Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron. Chodron writes that, quote, working on ourselves and becoming more conscious about our own minds and emotions may be the only way for us to find solutions that address the welfare of all beings and the survival of the earth itself. In her book, Taking the Leap, Freeing Ourselves from Old Habits and Fears, she uses the Cherokee story that we heard this morning, the legend of the two wolves, to describe the spiritual work we are called to do. These two wolves are battling within each of us, the evil wolf of anger, fear, ego, and the wolf of love, generosity, compassion. And the wolf that wins the battle is the one you feed. The story demonstrates that life is not as simple as there being a good side and an evil side, and you pick a side and perpetually exist on that side. No. But as people active in justice work today, it can certainly feel that way, can't it? But what Dr. King is saying, what Pema Chodron is saying, is that the real battle is first and foremost happening inside us. In the subtle, small moments of decision, we are making the choice to feed one of these wolves. And these decisions have ripple effects, not just within our bodies and our spirits, but they manifest in our world. And what I want to talk about this morning is how making the right choice begins with cultivating the wisdom and the clarity to understand the choice in front of us. We can get in trouble not because we don't want to make the right choice, but because we don't see that choice clearly. Perhaps you can relate to this in your day-to-day life, in a conversation with a family member, or when you see something on the news, or in a meeting at work or at church. And a thought or emotion arises in you that we might put in the bad wolf category. Fear, ego, feeling not seen or heard, feeling the loss of control, anger, jealousy. And when we don't recognize that emotion, when we don't have the clarity to understand or to know that that bad wolf has just made an appearance, our thoughts and emotions can quietly but powerfully trigger an almost instant reaction. A dehumanizing comment towards a neighbor with a different political view than us. Exerting power over others in a collaborative group process in an effort to regain control. Hearing the phrase, "Can we talk about something?" Or, "Can I share some feedback?" and immediately closing up to protect ourselves. Binge watching to numb ourselves. Late night snacking to numb ourselves. The list goes on and on. And that 1-2 cause and effect can become a deeply ingrained habit that we're not even aware of. So the first step in breaking this cycle is to cultivate a deeper understanding of all of the thoughts and emotions that live within us, to have a strong emotional intelligence. In her new book, Atlas of the Heart, Brené Brown talks precisely about this. Over the course of a half-decade, surveying over 7,000 people, Brown found that the average number of emotions that people can identify in themselves is 3. And I've said this before in a previous sermon. Happy, sad, and angry. But in order for us to understand the emotional dynamics of any given moment and decision, we need to be skillful in identifying far more. Joy, wonder, disappointment, uncertainty. Brown's new book charts 87 thoughts and emotions that make up the atlas of our hearts. She says this: without understanding how your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors work together, it's almost impossible to find our way back to ourselves and each other. When we don't understand how our emotions shape our thoughts and decisions, we become disembodied from our own experiences and disconnected from each other. And this is how we develop the skillfulness, the spiritual strength, and discipline to stop at the moment when a thought or emotion arises. And before it has triggered a reaction, say, what's really happening here? What's really moving through my head and heart right now? Is it anger, fear, ego? Do I feel anxious, sad, threatened, heartbroken? What is it? Spiritual practices help us to do this. Meditation, prayer, simple pauses to breathe in our day create a sacred space in which we can develop the discipline to slow things down and seek to understand our hearts, and develop the discipline to choose generosity, to choose kindness, humility, grace in those moments, to choose to see someone's humanity and the emotions that are swirling through them too. This is how we cultivate the deep inner strength to love. And it's so important to note here that we are not meant to deny or battle against our difficult emotions. We have a lot of reasons to feel angry and scared and powerless. That's real. But as the Mexican proverb wisely points out, when you bury something, it becomes a seed. What we suppress will manifest. So instead, we sit with that feeling in a gentle posture. We need to feel it, but that doesn't mean we need to feed it. When we feed those emotions, that bad wolf, so to speak, it only depletes us, does harm to our spirit, and on top of that, it makes that wolf stronger. It gives that wolf more power over us. But when we feed the good wolf, it sustains us. It nourishes our spirit. Well, if some of you are thinking right now, this is not your classic MLK Day sermon, well, hear me out. Because remember that social transformation requires spiritual transformation. Changing our relationship with difficult emotions and the power they have over us is what is required in our movement today. Not only the need to cultivate the deep inner strength to love, but to reframe what is happening in our country today. From a battle between good people and evil people to a choice between good and evil happening within each of us. And that's what Dr. King called on us to do. In speaking about the Montgomery bus boycott, Dr. King wrote, quote, "The basic conflict is not really over the buses. Yet we believe that if the method we use in dealing with the equality in the buses can eliminate injustice within ourselves, we shall at the same time be attacking the basis of injustice, man's hostility to man. The battle is not with each other. It is the forces of evil within each of us that have manifested in our world. And the ultimate goal in this web of mutuality is to heal everyone. And we do that with love. The power of this movement must be love. Dr. King showed us how. John Lewis showed us how. And now Reverend Barber shows us how. Stacey Abrams shows us how. Stacey Abrams, the daughter of two preachers, is demonstrating how the deep spiritual strength to love has helped her build a transformative movement in a state very much like our own. Last summer in her WARE lecture at our UU General Assembly, Stacey Abrams said, "We spend so much of our time in a defensive crouch that we get used to the cramps, we get used to the confines of battling. And when you're only against something, that might energize you for a moment because the anger surges, the despair surges, but it's ephemeral. It's gone in an instant." Of course, this probably hits home for some of us, right? Constantly fighting against the current of injustice and greed and voter suppression in our state. Constantly playing whack-a-mole against these bad bills that will only make people's lives worse. And this work is necessary. It is critical, but alone, it's not sustainable. This work needs to be in service to the larger goal of building a movement of love. Abrams goes on to say, when you're in the process of construction, when you're working towards something, your energy feels different. Your complacency dissipates, and it's replaced by this constant buzz of how do I keep it going? And what's even more important is that people want to be a part of making something new. They rarely want to be a part of just the pure, raw energy of destruction. It's an abysmal space to inhabit because the darker the enemy, the darker your soul gets trying to fight it. But there is light in the act of creation. There is light in the act of being for something. There is light in having a path ahead of you as opposed to constantly trying to destroy what's behind you. We must be a part of a movement that doesn't give our attention and deplete our energy and orientation to that evil. This year, we will continue to build a movement choosing love, manifesting love, and being nourished and sustained by that love. Where we tell stories that center our humanity. Where we choose relational over transactional forms of organizing focused on the whole needs and the whole story of a person, and not just whether we can get them to vote for our side. Where we choose to collaborate with other groups in coalitions rather than working solo. And where we frame our movement's narrative and theory of change not from a place of fear, but love. Not scarcity, but abundance. Not despair, but hope. This is the work ahead of us this year. And in 2022, we are excited to welcome the new North Carolina project to our state's justice ecosystem, based on the work of Stacey Abrams' new Georgia project. And in case you don't know, this North Carolina franchise, so to speak, is being led by Amy Steele, a Unitarian Universalist from our Winston-Salem congregation. As a statewide UU Justice Ministry this year, we will work alongside them as well as the Poor People's Campaign and Reclaim Our Vote and all of the incredible partners in this transformative, loving movement for justice in our state. Love is as radical today as it was in Dr. King's time. Love is still the key that opens the door. Love is still the force that will sustain us and heal us and guide us. May we have the wisdom and the strength to choose it. May it be so. Amen.
Take down these walls that divide us. Take down these
The closing words are a continuation of the Amanda Gorman's poem. Come look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember, not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric. In our hearts we hear it. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. Be bold, sang time this year, be bold, sang time. For when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know what we've fought need not be forgotten, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome. The closing hymn is Wayaya.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within. We will get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we
The words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. The closing song is Shalom.